Just a few hours ago, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. It's happening during the night of the 2024 presidential election here in the US. In this video, I'm going to break down my analysis of Bitcoin, where I think it's going, and my buying plan for the next few months. Let's jump in. Okay, so I've got Bitcoin up here on my chart, and I have it on the weekly time frame. But as you can see right now on this candlestick right here, let me zoom into the daily chart. On this day, we are getting a new high right here on this candle. And like I said, this is happening during the election. It's literally just before midnight here on the East Coast of the US, Eastern time. And over the last couple of hours, we've seen Bitcoin cross over a nice little run up, and it's crossed over that previous high, which is creating a new all-time high. So some interesting stuff I think is going to be happening with Bitcoin. And for me, I've been tracking this on the long term for quite a bit. And I usually take a look on the weekly time frame. And so let's go back to that. This chart is in a log setting, logarithmic scale, just so that we can see kind of what's going on. If you take it off, it's a little bit hard to see, but we've got on the log scale here. And I'm someone who likes to do analysis using Elliott Wave. Elliott Wave Theory, if you don't know what that is, definitely got to check it out. It's something that I think provides me a good understanding of what's happening in the market. It gives me a couple of different probabilities of what could be. It's not some, crazy technique to always predict which way the market is going, but it does give some probability for which way it can go. And it works well over the long term when you're looking at charts over the long term. So in this Elliott wave, I got my 5-wave count going, which is this 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're in this 4th wave right now that has not finished yet. And I think this is potentially where Bitcoin is going in this bull run. So some of the rules of Elliott wave is that when you have a wave number 3, that cannot be the shortest wave, and you can see that here. Also with wave 4, we cannot go into the price territory, the top of wave 1, which would have been right over here. And so a lot of people were thinking during this bear market from 2021 to the end of 2022 that it was going to go way down here, almost under 10,000, but we were able to stay above that. And that was important for me. I was looking at this, I was tracking this, I was even looking at the subdivision of this wave. And what I saw was that we had a extended flat. So an extended flat is a type of correction pattern in Elliott wave where we have a wave A that comes down, we have a wave B that goes up and breaks the high of the previous wave 3, and then it goes down for a 5-wave correction. And that completes wave 4. And some people were thinking, well, this was a wave 4 and then a wave 5 right here. But I was definitely thinking, and I felt good about my own analysis and thinking that this was an extended wave flat for a wave 4, which would mean that we would then be starting to put in a wave 5. And we had a lot of confluence right here. We had on the Fibonacci, if we take the low of wave 2 all the way up to the high of wave 3, then we have this 50% retracement, and price basically came right to it. And we needed to stay above that because that's another characteristic of wave 4. It usually does not go below a 50% retracement, and we were able to stay there. And so that led me to believe that we were going to continue up after a reversal. Now for Bitcoin, out of the different bull and bear cycles, lots of people have done analysis on this, but it usually doesn't last for longer than a year to 18 months. And so I've got the measure here. If we were to say that this was the end of wave 3 and the start of the bear market, we basically had this for 600 days. And if we count that from the all-time high at this point, then we're looking at just about a year. 364 days is what I'm counting. So just about a year, which is right on par when it comes to the duration of a bear market. And a lot of people, were buying over here at the top when Bitcoin is making all-time highs, but then they kind of got flushed out and, lost a lot of the money that they might have put in over here. And so if you were patient enough, if you were dollar cost averaging in this area where Bitcoin was in, the 20s and 19s, I was actually able to buy some down here right around 20, I think it was around 21,000. I was able to make a couple buy orders with Bitcoin. And I have taken some profit along the way up, just not knowing if we were going to head back down for, a second leg of a bear market. But what we can tell is we're definitely picking up some momentum. It's in line with the halving cycle theory as well, which, again, if you don't know what the halving cycle theory is, look that up. But basically, every 4 years, there's a halving of the hash rate for Bitcoin. I believe I'm explaining that correctly. But basically, for you earning Bitcoin, there's a certain amount that you get for each problem that you solve on the ledger. And that halves every year. So on 1 year, if you're able to get 100, then 4 years later, each reward would go down to 50 and then down to 25 and so on. And so when that happens, it slows the amount of Bitcoin that get put into the system. And if you look at the balance between supply and demand, if there's less supply, then by default, that's usually going to drive the demand, which is going to drive up the price. And the Bitcoin halving took place on April 19th of 2024. And typically when that happens, it's followed by a run up with over the next year plus in Bitcoin. So we had the halving, like I mentioned, April 19th, so right around here. And so we had this halving here, and typically it's followed by a run up. And let's go back to another example. So right around here was the halving in 2020, 4 years ago, and you see the run up that we had. So it wasn't that much long after. Let's just take a look. So around May of 2020 and to the kind of the first peak right there was almost a year, just a little bit under a year. And also, if we go back to 2016, I believe it happened. Let's see. July 9th of 2016. Let's see when that took place. So July 9th of 2016. So right around here was the halving in 2016. And again, shortly thereafter was a run up. And that one took a little bit longer. That one took 518 days. But still, not too much long after that halving happened did we see a massive run up of Bitcoin. So for me, that's an indicator. That's kind of an event to keep on your radar as to where Bitcoin moves. And now we have it coupled with this election. At the time of this recording, I don't know who the winner will be, but we've got some early indication as far as what Bitcoin wants to do based on what data and what results have come in so far. And so I'm just looking to ride off of that. And this is all for entertainment purposes. I'm not an investor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just showing you and sharing with you what I'm doing. So with that being said, with the Elliott wave counts, and I'll even add this part here where I think in this longer term wave 5, we have a wave 1, wave 2 correction, wave 3, and wave 4 already in place. And now we're starting that wave 5 inside of a larger wave 5. And I can confirm this on a couple different ways based on some of the Elliott wave rules. So we'll come down. Oops. Let's do Fibonacci, the bottom of this wave 3 to the top of the wave 3. And typically wave 3s go up, and then correct wave 4 comes right around to that 0.382 Fibonacci level. It literally came and touched down. So it still could not be over, but it did come and touch down right at that level. And now we're getting some push up. And because we're making new all-time highs, I do believe that that's going to encourage some people to get in to Bitcoin, as there's already been some nice upward momentum. All right, so where do I think Bitcoin is going? I think Bitcoin is going to make a big run up over the next year or so. And just some early projections of mine, I think at some point, maybe at the end of 2025, that's kind of always been my target for as far as a timeline goes, is the end of 2025. Maybe November, Q4 of 2025, November or December is kind of what I've been thinking of. And as far as a price target, I have a couple lines drawn on here for this channel. And even though it is in log scale, I have been using this. And so I think we could get anywhere up to, anywhere sub 300,000 for Bitcoin. If it makes a really big run up, that wouldn't be too far off of some of the other bull run ups. And even though Bitcoin is a larger number, it's not going to go up percentage wise as much as it has in the past. So for example, the big run up from the last bull market, let's go to the bottom to the top over here, was about 2,000%. So almost, over 20x, over 20x. So I don't think it's going to go up another 20x from the bottom of this past bear market, but just because it's a larger market cap, it's just harder to move that much, to move the price that much. But it still can go up, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10x. So I think from the bottom over here to sub 300,000, yeah, I mean, it still could, it still could go up that much. But I think more realistically, it could be somewhere around 10x. That would be more of a conservative marker for me, or maybe a midpoint. I do think maybe there's some resistance at 100,000. Just the psychological number of 100,000. I think a lot of people have been maybe waiting for it to get to 100,000 before they sell. So it's going to be interesting to see. But based upon Bitcoin's past performance, even though it's not always an indicator of future performance, I would say I'm looking somewhere between 250 to 300,000 for Bitcoin. And I'm not necessarily trying to time it. What I've been doing is I did purchase some down here at around 21,000, somewhere around there. And I did take some profit, but what I wish I would have done was done more dollar cost averaging. And at this point, this is probably what I'm going to do. Just not looking to try to time the market. If you've heard people talk about, it's better to just have the amount of time in the market versus trying to time the market. And I think over the long period of time, Bitcoin's going to continue to go up. And even when the bull run is done and there's another bear market, I still think the prices that we're at right now, we may not come below. So even if I was to purchase right now, I still think, I would be ahead than if I were to wait to buy a whole bunch, once it's already in its run up. So again, this is all for entertainment purposes. Just want to share this video as Bitcoin was crossing that new all-time high. Crazy timing with this election. And as time goes on, I'll be making more videos like this. So if you like this video, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.